While thousands of UFO, Sasquatch, and ghost sightings are reported every year, sometimes it's not just enough through our eyes that we experience the unexplained. That's because oftentimes we do not see, but hear mysterious things and strange sounds. Here are the top 15 most mysterious sounds that are unexplained. Number 15. Havana Syndrome. While many strange sounds exist, very few have almost led to a serious international conflict. Yeah, that's exactly what happened in 2017, when diplomats at the American and Canadian embassies in Havana, Cuba, began to hear strange grating noises that would last for anywhere from 20 seconds to 30 minutes, with these noises always happening while the diplomats were either at home or in hotel rooms. As such, both Canada and the USA launched an investigation, and many government officials came to the early conclusion that they were being exposed to a sonic attack. These accusations then became further amplified in 2018, when it became apparent that some of the diplomats had not only suffered from brain trauma, but also that the American diplomats stationed in China were beginning to experience similar grating noises as well. And while no concrete evidence of a sonic attack has been discovered as of yet, this issue continues to be a point of contention between these countries today. Number 14. Upsweep. Oceans are generally known to be deep, dark, and very mysterious, and thus it shouldn't come as a surprise that various strange sounds have come from the depths of the waters. However, one of the strangest of them all is upsweep, which has been present seasonally between the months of spring and autumn ever since these types of sounds began to be recorded by the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in 1991. Now, upsweep itself is essentially a long train of narrow-band upsweeping sounds that typically last for several seconds, and as of now, the source of the sound is unknown. However, due to how loud and frequent it is, many scientists believe that it's somehow related to underwater volcanic activity. Regardless, this strange seasonal sound definitely deserves further investigation. Number 13. Julia. While upsweep may be pretty strange, Julia is also notable for perhaps being just as odd. That's because this sound, which was recorded on March 1st of 1999 by the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, was extremely loud, as it was heard across the entire equatorial Pacific Ocean Autonomous Hydrophone Array for a duration of about 15 seconds. Now, no one knows for sure what caused the sound, although experts believe it was most likely the result of a large iceberg running aground off Antarctica. However, despite this explanation being commonly accepted across the scientific community, its true origins and where exactly the sound originate are still hotly debated by many to this day. Number 12. The deepest spot on Earth. The deepest spot on Earth is easily one of the more mysterious places on our planet. But what is perhaps even stranger is that there's a number of sounds that can be heard within it. For reference, the spot in question is Challenger Deep in the Marianas Trench, which has earned its title thanks to it plunging to a depth of around 11,030 meters below sea level. Now, the microphone used to record the sounds of the Challenger Deep stayed down there for 23 days in March of 2016. And during this time, it captured what appeared to be the sounds of several different types of whales, the emissions of passing boats, and rumble of nearby earthquakes. This finding baffled many scientists, as the thought that the area would be completely quiet due to its depth. However, with this obviously not being the case, the scientific community is now trying to learn more about how these sounds affect sea life living in the trench, and whether or not they will increase in terms of volume and frequency on subsequent visits. Number 11. The Lincolnshire Poacher. Many nations have been known to use radio stations to transmit secret messages, but the Lincolnshire Poacher perhaps surpasses them all in terms of its strangeness. That's because it was in all likelihood a British radio station located in Cyprus, and its featuring of a British woman reading pre-recorded numbers made many believe that it was used to send codes to British forces. However, what made it truly mysterious was the fact that before the woman spoke, the station would always play a 10-minute rendition of the Lincolnshire Poacher, which is an English folk song that spoke of the joys of poaching. And while the station closed in 2008, after having been active for about 35 years, the reasoning as to what it was used for and why it played the Lincolnshire Poacher is still a mystery to this day. Number 10. The 52 Hz Whale. While most whales are known to live in pods and be quite social animals, the 52 Hz whale is perhaps the loneliest whale in the entire world. That's because ever since 1989, a 52 Hz frequency sound has been detected from the waters of the western seaboard of North America, with the travel pattern of this sound closely resembling that of a blue or fin whale, and with the sonic signature of the sound being that of a whale as well. However, the 52 Hz frequency of this sound is very odd, as blue whales typically communicate at a frequency of about 10 to 39 Hz, while fin whales do so at a frequency of about 20 Hz. As such, many scientists believe that the whale making the noise could either be malformed or, if not, some sort of blue whale hybrid. Yet while the whale is likely the loneliest in the world due to its unique frequency of communication, it doesn't seem to have affected its ability to survive, as the fact that the tone is lowered to about 50 Hz over the years indicates that the whale is likely matured and is thus healthy. However, until the whale is tracked down and studied, we won't know for sure exactly why it's making such a strange sound. Number 9. The wow signal. While many have claimed to have seen or been in contact with aliens over the years, the wow signal is one of the most concrete pieces of evidence we have that may prove that extraterrestrial life really does exist. The signal was recorded by Ohio State University's Big Ear Radio Telescope on August 15th of 1977, and was only noticed a few days later while astronomer Jerry R. Eman was performing a periodic review of the telescope's data. This data made it clear that a sound came in at 30 standard deviations above background noise, and the characteristics of this sound were extremely unique. That's because beyond being quite loud, it was recorded at a constant rate for 72 seconds, which was not only the maximum amount of time for which the telescope could record a sound, but also consistent with a purposeful sound transmission of some sort. To top it off, it was also transmitted at over 1420 megahertz, which is the frequency naturally emitted by hydrogen. This was seen as extremely significant, as hydrogen is the most common element in the universe, and therefore would have likely been familiar to technologically advanced alien civilizations. And while none of these factors make it 100% clear that aliens were trying to communicate with us, many still believe that the wow signal does in fact come from another planet.
We're constantly adding more people to the Top 5's production team to bring you all the best content. Be sure to subscribe with notifications on and hit the like button.
Number 8. Electronic voice phenomenon. We think you'd agree that whether or not ghosts really exist is a truly contested topic. However, while ghost hunters may periodically record tapes that seem to record real-life ghosts on record, many scientists have discredited these tapes by simply being examples of electronic voice phenomena, or EVP. Put simply, EVP occurs whenever you're listening to audio you hear what sounds like voices in either the background or the recording static. Oftentimes, these sounds will be very familiar to that of human voices, leading many to believe that they are in fact sounds being made by ghosts. Now, in the eyes of most scientists, EVP is just the act of your brain tricking you into believing that completely random sounds are in fact familiar sounds, and as such, they claim that most ghost hunters are just misinterpreting the patterns of non-coherent static into human words and phrases. However, there are some that totally refute this claim, saying they have in fact used EVP to communicate with hundreds of dead people. Regardless, it is more than likely than not that people will continue to debate the cause of EVP for years to come. Number 7. The Forest Grove Shriek. Generally speaking, noise complaints tend to revolve around annoying construction projects, loud college parties, and people cutting the grass in the early hours of the morning. However, the residents of Forest Grove, Oregon, truly had a noise out of hell when they were subjected to the Forest Grove Shriek. Occurring throughout February of 2016 and lasting for anywhere from 10 seconds to several minutes, it was essentially a loud burst similar to that of a giant flute playing off pitch, and was heard throughout the neighborhood several times during the month. However, despite being extremely annoying and occurring multiple times during the day and evening, nobody could pinpoint exactly where it came from, with city officials doing multiple inspections and confirming that none of their equipment was the source of the noise. And while this was obviously quite an inconvenience for residents, it thankfully didn't last forever, as after February was through, it was never heard again. To this day, nobody knows for sure what caused the noise, but according to Forest Grove Fire Marshal Dave Niemeyer, quote, a faulty attic fan or heat pump, end quote, was the most likely culprit. Number 6. Singing sands. Sand may not be the first thing you'd expect to start singing at random, but it turns out that sands from around the world have been known to make mysterious singing sounds from time to time. Now, these sands tend to emit sounds at a variety of different frequencies, and with a maximum output of about 105 decibels, they're sometimes as loud as a rock concert. In terms of length, they often last for several minutes, yet their origin isn't exactly clear. However, a number of theories abound as to what causes sand to sing, although the predominant belief is that it occurs when wind either travels down a sand dune or across a flat surface of sand. When the wind then gets caught in the sand, it likely interacts with the sand in a similar way to how the air does with our vocal cords. And while scientists debate as to whether the sand makes noise via friction, air pockets, or collisions between grains, what is clear is that each locale has a unique sand song of its own, with the thickness of the grains often determining what sound will be made. Thus, while the details around singing sand may not be entirely clear, it's definitely something that scientists should continue to study. Number 5. The hum. Although most strange sounds are limited to a single source, the hum goes against this general rule. That's because the hum, which has been reported ever since the 1970s, has been reported by various people of various backgrounds for decades. Now, in all cases, the sound is almost the same, with it essentially being similar to that of a low-frequency humming noise made by a large truck while idling. Generally speaking, the hum is heard in urban areas, and usually is heard amongst about 2 to 4% of population of a given area. Yet rather than impact everyone equally, the majority of those being affected are typically between the ages of 55 and 70. As a result, scientists have been trying to find exactly what the source of the sound is, and to this day they have divided opinions between the source being either a city-related noise or a radio frequency-related noise. For those who think it comes from an urban source, many believe that the hum could come from building apparatuses, such as ventilation fans, air compressors, and water pumps, or transportation-related factors such as car traffic, air traffic, and car engines. In either case, acoustic specialists such as Jeff Leventhal have argued that these factors produce low-frequency sounds that could potentially travel across large distances and produce the hum. There is also the potential that radio waves could be its source, as it has been found that very low-frequency radio signals between 3 Hz and 30 kHz can in fact register an audio response in humans. However, in either case, there have been experiments done that have made experts doubt these theories, with the most evident being that the people who hear the hum are all placed in the same room. They often hear the noise at different frequencies, which put simply is an impossibility if the noise is coming from a single source. As such, the conclusion that Professor Glenn McPherson of the University of British Columbia has drawn is that the source is in fact neurological, with each individual victim of the hum experiencing it as a response to some sort of stimulus related to urban living. What exactly that stimulus is, however, is still unknown. Number 4. Aquatic choirs. While we may be used to hearing choirs sing in either churches or on holidays, it turns out that the animal kingdom has some stellar singers of its own. That's because much like birds chirping in a chorus in the morning, it turns out that fish will often engage in a sort of natural choir that's nothing short of incredible. These vocal performances will occur either at dawn or at dusk, and usually consist of representatives from various species of fish, repeating the same call over and over again, with this call being synced to the other ones that they hear in the area. This creates a repetitive chorus of sorts, with researchers tracking the phenomenon in Australia consistently recording 7 distinct choirs of fish over an 18-month period, with these including overlapping foghorn calls made by black jellyfish and the ba-ba-ba sounds repeated by chorusing batfish. Now, the purpose for this chorus is not entirely clear, but scientists believe that they likely play an important role in various fish behaviors such as reproduction, feeding, hunting, and territorial disputes. And while most studies around the subject have taken place in Australia, it's very well possible that these choruses occur across the world's water bodies, as this phenomenon has even been recorded by fish in captivity at the London Aquarium. As such, while the exact reasoning behind the aquatic choirs may still be unclear, we're sure that scientists will figure it out sooner rather than later. Number 1. Skyquakes. While you may be familiar with earthquakes, which occur thanks to tectonic plates shifting underground, it turns out that some very odd sounds have come as the result of skyquakes. Now, a skyquake is essentially a phenomenon where a loud cannon, trumpet, or a sonic boom is reported to originate from the sky, with the sound typically producing shockwaves that, at times, even cause buildings to shake. Yet unlike many other sounds on this list, what sets skyquakes apart are that they have been heard for hundreds of years, with some having been recorded when European settlers were colonizing North America. However, despite this, the source of the skyquakes are still unknown. After all, not only are they heard in various countries, but their existence has been felt everywhere from lakeside towns to places in the middle of the desert. Yet this hasn't stopped a number of scientists from making hypotheses as to what caused a skyquake to occur. One of the leading theories is that they come from gas escaping from the Earth's surface, with the sources being anything from seaweed within water bodies to thermal vents located on land. There's also a possibility that the sound could come from coronal mass ejections, which are essentially bursts of solar wind from the sun that can cause large shock waves when they hit the Earth. However, there are some that even chalk up the sound to anything from the effects of far-off earthquakes to volcanoes, despite the fact that these have largely been disproven by scientists. Regardless, in spite of all the hypotheses out there, the truth remains that no one knows for sure about the sources that cause a skyquake. Number 2. UVB-76. It goes without saying that our world is filled with its fair share of odd radio stations, but the truth of the matter is that none come close to the strangeness of UVB-76. That's because rather than talk about politics, pop culture, or the news, its operators have been playing a constant buzzing noise for decades. First heard in the year 1973, the radio station broadcasts on the frequencies of 4625 and 4810 kHz. And generally speaking, will play a loud buzzing sound that repeats itself at a rate of about 21 to 34 times per minute for 24 hours a day. Now, the exact location of the radio station broadcasting these sounds is unknown. However, most evidence seems to point to it being Russian in origin. That's because throughout its history, there have been periodic breaks in the station's buzzing, with these breaks being often filled by voice messages in Russian. Now, typically, these voice messages follow a fixed format, where the name of the station, a smattering of strange words, several Russian names, and a variety of numbers are dictated. And while these messages were very rare in the past, in recent years they've become more and more common, with them even sometimes being interjected by quick conversations, being had entirely in Russian. Yet what's perhaps strangest of all about the station is that this continuous activity over nearly a 50-year period has come with no clear explanation from any government or broadcasting authority. Now, there is some speculation that it's simply being used to confirm that operators receiving stations are alert, although this explanation has been seen as quite strange by many. As such, the leading theory is instead that voice messages are some sort of Russian military communication, with the buzzing sound being merely a channel marker used to keep the frequency occupied, thereby making it unattractive for other potential users. However, while we can theorize as much as we'd like, the true explanation behind UVB-76 is still unknown. Number 1. The bloop. As far as mysterious sounds go, few are as infamous as the bloop. It's essentially an ultra-low frequency yet extremely powerful underwater sound that lasted for about a minute, and while it was heard multiple times throughout the summer of 1997, it has not been detected ever since. Now, in terms of its scope, it was absolutely massive, as despite the sound being thought to have originated in the South Pacific Ocean west of the southern tip of South America, it was heard by stations located more than 5,000 kilometers away from its estimated location. As such, theories abound as to what could have been the cause of this strange sound, although most have indicated that the bloop's origins can be traced back to either a movement of ice or the sound of a large animal. Now, the ice movement theory is widely thought to be the most likely cause of the bloop. In particular, it's thought that the starting point of the sound was at the point of an ice quake, which occurs when a glacier either experienced a large movement or disintegrated at a rapid rate. This theory is further supported by the fact that the sound made by an iceberg was consistent with the noises generated by both ice quakes and large icebergs, or alternatively, by large icebergs scraping the ocean floor. As such, it's the explanation that the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, has stood by. However, there's also the possibility that the sound could have come from a large ocean animal. This is the theory that's been advanced by Dr. Christopher Fox of NOAA, and he believes that the signature of the bloop demonstrates a rapid variation in frequency, similar to the sounds known to be made by marine beasts, thus making it quite likely that the sound comes from some sort of animal. Yet, due to having such a sound being too loud to have come from a blue whale, the animal in question would have to be absolutely massive. Regardless, in spite of these theories, the true origin of the bloop is still unknown.
Watch our Obscure playlist for more top 15 videos about the more obscure subjects in our world. Sit back, relax, and binge watch all of our best and most obscure videos.